We are recording the GoToMeeting for month 6, week 3, and it is Saturday. In attendance are myself, Jessica, Matthew, and Patty Yon. Okay. And speaking of Patty Yon, she is at the bottom of the list here. So let's go ahead and everybody, should have this pulled up. And in case the internet connection is slow and choppy, go ahead and watch the dynamic mood board on your own computer. And here we go. Maybe.
I'm in the process of downloading the music, so it did not get on there. Boy, it's really dull without the music.
Okay, those are better. All right. So yeah, you've recropped those images, and that helps a good bit. It shows that media things are happening. Now, and I see that you added in some fonts and color. You do need a bit more graphic work on here so that it's not just a series of other people's images. Do you understand?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You need to have more graphic elements. You need to add more to these images so that it's not just a series of other people's images.
Okay,
It needs to show your design. What um, why are they coming to you? They could grab these images anywhere. So you've got homeless garden project right here. That's um, that's some text across the image, so that helps. And then we move on to, is my screen showing?
Yes, it is.
yes,
Okay. We move on to here, and you've got some information here and here, and it's a little small. I think you could easily put color on another screen and put font on this screen alone and make that bigger so that we can see it. Make the information larger so that we
I
can see
see.
it, so that it's
Okay,
got a purpose, so that it shows your design abilities, and then put color on another one, and that gives you another slide at some point, another scene, another shot that will have your touch on it, if you will. Also, you could easily, do a whole transition of color. You don't have to use every one of these images for the base of your dynamic mood board. In fact, it becomes a little bit difficult when we just see sort of thematic images, but then we actually see sort of back here, this website or this blog, we see it's called Good Times, and that would it appears as if it is something you've created, like you're kind of showing this is what a blog would look like that I've created. This is what something in our campaign for the homeless garden project would be. So that's a little different than the sort of thematic images that you're showing up front that don't have a media connection with them.
okay.
Um, right. So you're going to need to find a way to tell us sort of what we're looking at, or to add more graphics. We need a transition in there, maybe a transition of color. It could just be color
Oh, all
bars that,
right.
the color bars just come across the screen and wipe to something else.
Okay,
In other words, it needs to, and this is what I sort of need to be clear on. It needs to show what you would envision happening in a campaign that you've worked on for this particular project, as opposed to just, if they were to hire you and you were to put out a commercial, would it simply be a string of images from other people? You would have to show your graphic ability on there somehow.
All right. Do you think
Okay.
that maybe a before and after sort of thing, or a kind of a before and slide into what I would do?
No. And when you
No?
say before and
Okay.
after, do you mean what the campaign was before and what it is now?
Yes.
No, because this is not about the old stuff. This is strictly about a mood board. This is what you're going to do for the new campaign. So you
Okay.
don't show the old campaign. You say these are the things that are going to happen in the new campaign. These are the transitions and elements and fonts. This is how I would show a font on an image. This is where I'd put that information. This is how it would be addressed.
Okay.
Um, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
what are we going to do about these images, about the clarity? Have you sent out an email to Ryan McClung by any chance?
Actually, I thought that I had cleaned that up because
No.
no?
The image that's on my
Okay.
screen right now, the fellow,
Yes.
they're all fuzzy. They're all out of focus. Some are a
And
little worse than others, actually. This one's okay at the front. That one, or this isn't the front, is it? Oh, sorry. Um, the one that's on screen right now is fine, but this is fuzzy. Starting to look a little on the pixelated side, like maybe it's been blown up too much or warped. The Good Times one is not clear. It's out of focus. Um, Red Fire Farm is slightly out of focus. It doesn't show as poorly as the others, but I think once you actually get the quality of the others up, then Red Farm will not look quite as good. The hand planting is out of focus. These are quite out of focus. All these hands together.
now see that one on my screen looks completely fine. And it
Um,
has something to do with the iMovie to the YouTube.
sure, yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Which is in very possible. That's why I'm saying you need to contact Ryan McClung and talk to him about exporting. Find out
Okay.
how you're exporting and how you should export. At what level. Okay.
Okay.
hmm Comments from the class?
Let's see. I was actually going to ask Patty, what type of format are you using for the export?
Well, what I've been doing is building it in iMovie,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been trying to work with After Effects, and I thought I had saved something, came back the next day, and there were no pictures.
Okay.
And then so I exported for this particular one, I exported from iMovie to YouTube.
Okay. Because I think I can help you with the export. What type of format are you exporting it as? A QuickTime movie, or because I can help you with possibly the compression rate, which might actually improve the images to the transport to YouTube.
In iMovie, doesn't it recommend that you export at a medium level?
You
I'm
can
looking here.
sure, you can export out of iMovie at the highest quality, and actually you have a plethora of compression options and After Effects, so that way the image quality stays the same.
Okay, in iMovie, I see it says large HD 720 and HD 1080.
Mm-hmm. If you try the HD one 1080, then bring it into After Effects and
Ah,
recompress it, you'll be able to keep your image quality when you transfer it to YouTube.
okay, I appreciate that help, believe
Sure.
me.
I can actually, if you want, I can actually show you step by step and post a video on how to do that, so that way it can help you out.
How
Excellent,
nice.
Matthew.
Thank you.
Yes. As far as comments, I think that I mean, you said yourself, without the music, it seems kind of dull. I mean, I actually see it from a visual standpoint. You got a good base here, and a good overall starting point. I just agree with the professor that some of the additives that you can put in there are making the text a little bit bigger with the font choices and such. And try some animation with After Effects if you're familiar with that, because that'll give it a nice pop, even something very subtle.
Yeah, and I think looking at, I know that
I
you had
am
mentioned
trying.
before, Patty, that you
Yeah.
watched Ryan McClung's tutorial, and I'd say watch that again for the transition, and try to create a transition of some sort that you can use maybe at least 3 times in here.
Okay, can you think of a reason why one day I'd have pictures and the next day I wouldn't in After Effects?
Um,
Uh, Nothing obvious. I mean, and that's sort of the problem with software is that nothing is ever obvious. There's so many possible buttons to be pushed, so to speak, that any combination of them and how you save. I don't know, Matthew. Do you have any obvious ideas?
actually, yeah, I actually ran into a
Okay.
problem recently with a certain file that I had saved with images not popping up, and what had happened was is that when you're in After Effects and you got your images up, you have this little icon in the time slider that has an eyeball, and sometimes that can be hit, and it can turn off your that particular image or that particular video that you're working with, and that might be the issue.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they're not appearing. They're not lost. They're just not appearing, is what you're saying, Matthew.
That's a possibility. It
Right.
could also be, like you said, when you're actually messing with different buttons and different systems in the actual UI, you can actually save over your work by accident, and that'll cause the images to disappear as well. And it's just programming.
And
Jessica,
spending
Tanya, do you guys have
more and
any
more and
comments
more
for
time.
Patty?
No, the only comments I had, I think, were pretty much already covered. I totally agree. I appreciated your statement. I think it's a good one to keep in mind for all of us. When you said that, the photos are good, they're compelling, but what makes them different? How is this
Sure.
any, like how does this make your project stand out
Right.
compared to other gardening programs or homeless slash gardening programs? Yeah, I don't, I mean, they are good photos, but I'm not sure what makes them different and how they all tie together to show what is totally different about this particular program.
Right. Okay. Tanya?
Just the same with what
Okay.
everyone else is talking about. My thing
Okay.
was I would like to have seen some graphic elements in there.
Okay.
So she's addressing that, so I'm fine.
Okay. Tanya, you were on mute for a while there. Are you fully available, or are you someplace where you can't
Oh
participate much?
no, I'm getting over the flu, so I'm still coughing, and I just don't want
Okay.
you guys to hear me.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Are you comfortable starting with Matthews, giving comments to start for Matthews? Are you comfortable with that,
sure,
Tanya?
sure.
Okay. Let's all watch Matthews. Uh-oh, gonna have connection problems. I'll be right back, y'all.
Sure.
It's the snow, that's what it is.
Hmm. Did everybody get snow?
Yeah.
No, it's just I've got some lint outside.
Hmm.
Um.
Yeah, I'm all the way up in Vermont and we don't have a whole lot of snow, but it is damn cold.
Yes.
Oh,
Right now,
yeah.
Toledo, Ohio is just it's a snowbank.
Yeah.
I think we're at a level 3 now.
Oh my God.
I think North Carolina is as far north as I want to go.
Okay, well, there we go. It's not playing on my end. An error occurred.
Maybe we could go on to another one, come back. Maybe.
Sure.
Not trying to slight you, Matthew.
Oh, not at all. Don't even worry about it. It plays fine on mine. I don't know why.
Right. Well, I don't have a full connection here, and so I try not to do go-to meetings at the house too much. Okay, well, Matthew, we're gonna make you the presenter.
Yes, sir. All right. Everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Matthew,
Seatbelts
can you not turn
fashion.
it down so much?
All right. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Tanya.
Um, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I liked it.
Okay.
Again, I know he was just tweaking a little bit because everything worked so well in the other um, classes we held. So I know he fixed that issue that Patty had mentioned about, that one image looking flat, like it was a part of the background. You remember Matthew
Yes.
that
I
pipe?
was just getting to that particular section. I'm trying to find the volume so I can turn it down a little bit.
Um, but I always, yeah, I think it looks well thought out.
Can you go to font choices, please?
Sure. I have a feeling that that's just not on the screen long enough.
That was my one comment I was going to say, as far as this goes. It does seem to flash by maybe just a little too fast.
Yeah, a little too fast. That's what I was going with, and I'm just like, that neck, that little tweak that I didn't make.
And
They
then, are
did
you
look
adding
very
something at the end?
similar.
Why does it go to black at the end? Is there more to come, or is that where it ends?
That's where it ends. I just didn't. I cut it off a little too soon. I forgot
Okay,
to change my opacity, my little opacity animation. I have to
gotcha.
just.
Um,
Well, and I guess as far as the font choice thing goes, I was wondering too about like actually providing the names of the fonts, but
thank
maybe
you,
that's just a
Jessica.
personal preference.
No,
No,
it's
that's fine.
yeah.
That's a great idea.
No, it's. I think we mentioned it in the last go-to meeting too that it would, it would help bring home the point that you have
Okay.
actually chosen fonts, and it's sort of even though one would think this is the body copy and this is the title copy, but then what is font choices itself?
Okay.
Is that a headline font? Is that it just
No,
says
the
font
font
choice,
choices was just to give the section of the video a title.
right?
Um,
But
and
is
and
that
that's
font different than body copy and title copy?
no font choices is the same as body copy, and then title copy is just a slight variation of a different font.
Okay. Font choices and body copy look like different fonts in terms of the size
Yeah,
and
they
the
do.
things than the letters that are showing. It looks
Okay.
like it's likely to be a different one, in other words.
Yes, sir. I think
Yeah.
what it is that I put an outline on font choices to make it pop a little bit more, but I can take that down a notch or two and make it look like body copy.
Okay. Well, and I
Could you
think this
back
the
up?
second C, in choices, the second C is really very different. than the
Yes.
first one, and then the S has a very distinct feel to it that we're
Yes,
not
sir.
quite getting in here. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, so longer and identify the fonts. I'm sitting here trying to move this back. Can you go to color palette, please?
Sure. I think that's it.
Okay. Um, any comments here or any potential better communication ideas?
I think with the color palette, I feel like the top is what he's actually um trying to give to us. Like I know I
Hmm.
see like tons of color underneath that, but um I know that's really irrelevant. So I guess why do you need it? Um, but I know we are really to be a cohesive, well, a campaign that makes sense. I don't think you need more than those what 4 or 5 large fonts that you have up there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't really think he needs to put all that other stuff on the bottom.
Okay. Other ideas or comments here?
The other thing is the black on the top looks like a space instead of a block for a color palette.
Mm-hmm.
And does this, Matthew, do you have a name for the color palette?
The actual name of the color palette? No, I took that out. Um, I don't have a name for it. In the smaller print inside the actual color palette choices, it actually gives a name for it. I can actually pull that off and put that in and remove color palette as a name and actually put the names of the colors on there if you want.
I was just trying to figure out the grays. The one next to the blue looks like a color gray, and the gray on the other end looks like a black and white gray.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was trying to figure out the blue, so that's why I was asking about the name because I can't figure out what color palette it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jessica, do you have anything to add?
The only thing I was gonna say is that I kind of like the way that it's laid out. This for some reason this particular passage here sort of appeals to me, and I think part of it is that it kind of reminds me of like, do you remember those kits you used to get when you were a kid and you'd assemble like model cars? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it sort of reminds me of that. It's very like technical and kind
Mm-hmm.
of sleek and cool. So I dig it. I mean, in some of the other videos, I like what people are doing with their color palettes or like some of the example videos that you posted where like the one guy had his color palette flew in on every, airplane was a
The
different
plane,
color or
yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's cool, but I kind of like it like this where it's just sort of like straightforward. It seems fitting for the project.
Bingo. That's where I was going. That it. Yes, you're right. It is appropriate. So the basic composition and style that you're working with here, Matthew, is really good.
Okay.
And to Tanya's point, you really, you could get rid of some of the secondary colors that you're not using too much in here. You do
Okay.
use green a pretty
Hmm.
fair amount, and so it might not be a bad idea to pick one of the greens from down at the bottom and use it in the
Okay.
color palette. Now,
Would
go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to ask, you notice that there's the main colors at the top there, the larger squares. Would it be
Mhm.
better for me to maybe focus in on the color palette that's right below the P and the R, as those are my actual colors that I'm going to be using?
Well,
Because this is,
there are a lot there, and I think we've discussed that several times.
yes, yes, we have.
That yes, in an advanced way, you will use many colors in a campaign and that sort of thing. But they're also at this point you're sort of determining the main identifiable colors that speak to the campaign and to the sort of psycho emotional effects of the campaign.
Okay.
So we want to kind of get it limited.
Yes, sir.
So um, so sure, I mean, I think pulling, redoing your color palette to sort of better reflect something that is going to be more likely of what you're going to use, but still be indicative of what the campaign identifying color scheme is fine.
Okay.
Um, Now, what I was going to mention, and I thought I had mentioned it possibly in the last go-to meeting, but for this and the font choices, possibly this and your typography,
Okay.
you're not giving enough focus. There's still a lot more focus on the composition as a whole and on that background than there is on it on actually the color palette. And
Hmm.
I really think that you would need to at least attempt to bring that color palette forward and let
All
it
right.
fill the screen. You still have the same look as the rest of the campaign. You could even
Hmm.
include one of your, sort of X's or something, or that could be the transition that gets into it. But because you've got the font, because you've got the actual colors themselves, it's still and like Jessica was saying, it's very appropriate and fitting for the campaign. So you want to be able to you don't have to be able to read the color specs, meaning that you don't have to give it time for somebody to sit and read every one of the color specs. But you do need to be able to identify what's on screen as being a particular letter. If somebody's eye does focus on one particular color, they need to be able to say, "Oh, that's CMYK numbers," or "These are RGB numbers," that kind of thing.
Okay.
And that
Um,
goes for everybody. Is that you've got to put the color specs on there in a legible way. They can't be too small. They don't have to be on long enough to be read like a paragraph or like text, but they have to be identifiable for what they are. And you could think of it as if somebody were to freeze frame it, could they read it if they wanted
yes.
to? And it's not about, and the reason for this, it's not about whether or not somebody will be looking at your dynamic mood board and actually trying to grab the numbers off of there, your color specs. But it's about showing that you know what the color specs are. You know the difference between RGB and CMYK or Pantone and what you plan to do with them. It makes you, as the designer, show that you have knowledge of different color types and different media. Um, you guys do know the difference between CMYK and RGB. Was that brought up last month?
Yes, I do.
Yes, we know.
Uh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, Patty, that's right. You had some of the class and some not of the class. So CMYKs are basically print colors, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and so every color is made from a combination of those four, and in print. So you would have, maybe you have 30% yellow and 70% cyan to make whatever color, and so your CMYK numbers would be 70 and 30, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And RGB is red, green, and blue, and that's video color. So to get the same color in CMYK, you'd have to have the RGB numbers
Oh,
that
okay.
correspond with the CMYK numbers.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's light when you're using light instead of ink. Okay.
Okay.
And then Pantone is a whole other system that is a sort of a patented system. And so they have different colors as well. And there's a couple of other different color scales and specifications out there. But you need to show your color specs. So it's not as if you just saw some colors off the internet and grabbed them and put them in, or thought these looked good and dropped them together. Because we know what you have to show that you know the difference between the print and the video most specifically. Okay.
All
Um,
right.
and I think, and also with your fonts, Matthew, I think that it might be nice to try doing a full screen with the fonts, just so that again, you're able to show focus as to what you really want to communicate on that page. And you want to communicate on that page what the fonts are you've chosen.
Okay. I was going to ask to put more focus on this particular spot for the color palette. Do you want me to have like the actual image zoom up and take over the entire screen and just black out or just block out the background and then kind of have it like, float nicely and hit the background?
It's
That
not
kind of view.
about what I want, right?
I
It's
know.
you.
I'm,
You're
I'm
the designer,
yes,
and
sir.
you get to make the choice. But this is what I said, and I remember saying it in the last go-to meeting. Now, yes, I think that having some full screen moments that bring focus to the information that you want to show is
Yes, sir.
important. I think that is a good way to go. I mean, it's a very simple way to go. It's almost an obvious way to go, which
Okay.
is not problematic because you've got so much branding going on here. You've got so much creative work going on. I don't think you'll have a problem. I do think that you probably will need to, if you do it twice, you probably need to do it three times. So somewhere up to the front of your video, you would need to have sort of a full screen thing come in as well. And
Okay.
everything that you've got works so much as a transition, and there's sort of constant movement, even if it's slow motion of some sort. You've always got some constant motion going on. So I don't think you're going to lose the communication that you've currently got with that particular background. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It does perfectly.
Yeah. I think going full screen when you need to draw focus to it is necessary, and it's a good idea. And just to confirm, does everybody see how color palette is sort of secondary in this to the whole excitement of the background?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's sort of part of that image as a whole, as opposed to bringing focus to the color palette.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I got an idea for that.
Okay. And similarly, we talked about Mission Motorcycles being the name of it, and then going right into your directive words. And
Yes, sir.
you're
That's what
still doing that. Is that a misunderstanding or miscommunication, or
when I was going through my notes, that's the one thing that I missed in my notes. What I'll do
okay?
is that I mentioned that you wanted me to change that to eco-friendly and put mission motorcycles in another section. Um,
No, 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 no. I think I might have confused you there. The
okay.
issue is that Mission Motorcycles is the name of your company, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is for Mission Motorcycles, is what you're saying.
Yes.
But then if you go right to the next screen where it says innovative. Okay. Then it says innovative, and it looks essentially the same.
Okay.
And then each one of your pages is looking initially this is basically the same. Mailman's here. Baxter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good dog. And so they look initially the same, and it's not as problematic. Baxter. It's not as problematic between Mission Motorcycles and Innovative in that one sounds more like a name and the other sounds more like just a general directive word. But you had eco-friendly transportation on one.
Mm-hmm.
And eco-friendly transportation, if you think about it, could be the name of the company.
Oh.
Do you see
All
what I'm
right.
saying?
Now I got you. Okay.
So, um, so originally, when I mentioned it, you had the grid, the window pane look,
Mm-hmm.
and okay, good dog. All right, good dog. Um, and so my thought on it was that if you had Mission Motorcycles on the window pane, like start off gray with Mission Motorcycles, and then because it's stylistically different, it broke up from the window panes, and then it went to this background, and then it said innovative, and then it said all your other words. Then it would
Mm-hmm.
separate Mission Motorcycles as being the name of the campaign, as being the focus.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. On a I'm trying to process it and put it into visual terms in my brain. Um, I'm gonna have to tweak with it and see if I can get the right look that
I think
you're trying to
so.
explain.
Classmates, do you agree with me or understand where I'm coming from on that, or does it
Yeah,
still?
absolutely.
Okay. And it doesn't have to. You don't have to do the window pane. I'm just saying that you have to separate. We have to know what the title is versus the directive words.
Okay, so a separation between the title of the company and the directive words. Okay.
Yes, a stylistic difference, and this
Stylistic.
is really important. It's because they're stylistically all the same. We learn to read them as all the same type of information.
Okay, I get you now.
It's very similar to hierarchy in on just a poster, if you've got um, the name of the event in a particular font right at the top, and you're used to sort of seeing that as the biggest font, and then you put other information like the name of the guitarist in the same font at the very top, then all of a sudden that information is more important. All of a sudden that guitarist is, not just a supporting person on the poster, but it's the guitarist's event. The event is come see this guitarist, because that's the
Okay.
type of information that would be at the top of a poster in the biggest font. And in
All
the
right.
same way with this video, stylistically, all those words are on the same type of background. It's all essentially in hierarchy, it's all the same type of information to us.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Um, Really cohesive, good looking stuff there overall, I have to say.
Thank you.
And can anybody else have comments for Matthew?
I don't have much to say. I mean, I just think it's really sharp. I
Okay.
mean, there, every time I watch your new drafts of it, I sort of look to see like, is it going to become too much? And I think you can sort of approach that line a little bit, but I still think you're well on the side of it not being too much. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yes,
think it's
sir.
just really sharp, and I think it's appropriate for what it is that your campaign is about. And yeah, I think it's really impressive.
Good
Thank you, man.
insight, Jessica, and very very right. That's sort of that really supports my point of bringing focus and full screen to the color palette and the font. Is that with all the other information, it's simply too much. You're not bringing focus. You're not clearly communicating what you want because there's too much going on for some of the information. So yeah, good comment, Jessica.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
Matthew, can you continue to drive and go up to Tanya's project, please?
Sure.
And Jessica, can you take point on Tanya's project?
Sure.
Okay.
Neat.
Um, Go ahead and play again, Matthew and
Sure.
Jessica. Give us some notes.
Okay. And what happens at the end there? So, okay, because this is a different ending than it was the other day, right?
Yes.
Did you take that logo out
I
of
did.
the mix? Yeah, okay. Um, have you decided not to go with the logo anymore, or?
Did you, Jessica, see the last go-to meeting?
I watched most of the recording. I don't know if I may have
Okay,
missed some
well,
of the comments on it.
we covered the logo, the usage
Oh,
of
okay.
logo, sort of for everybody, and that it's don't use a logo right now because you're creating a logo next week, and so for or next month rather, not next week yet. So next month you'll be doing logo, and so right
Okay,
now
gotcha.
to show a logo would not be consistent with the
Sure,
campaign elements.
that makes sense.
Okay.
Um, and I guess then overall, I think it's really cool, and I liked what Professor Argo said in one of the go-to meetings that I was watching the other day, trying to catch up on what you guys have been discussing about how it looks very much like those old the L'Oreal commercials.
Hmm.
But I mean, because it says cosmetics to me, like I get it, and it's hip and it's fun and it's cool. I like what you're doing with your colors. It would be kind of nice to see. like what the names of the colors or the values for those colors were, but at the same time I don't know that it's necessary because I like the movement with it. I like how it matches up and syncs up with the music a lot. I think it's really fun, and it makes you want to move. Like it does, it's like it has sort of an inherent like call to action. It definitely has like a nice driving beat to it, and I like that the graphics match that driving beat that's in the music. One thing off the top of my head that I did notice is that when your fonts come in, I like the animation that you've done with the Futura. I think it's cool, but because my eye is so drawn to the animation that's going on with the lettering and that, I totally forgot until after it had passed that there was a secondary font there that you had
Matthew, go
mentioned,
to
and
fonts.
it goes by it like there's so much movement there that I was like, oh right, what's the secondary font? And I didn't have a chance to see what the secondary font was. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Well, and we had discussed that, and she's worked on getting that hierarchy together. But yes, it is still not quite clear yet,
Sure.
Tanya. You've got fonts
Okay.
comes up first, and it's in a right reading sort of position, so we read it. But then it says primary at the same time that Futura is coming on, so you do still need to get that clear. You got to get that clear. Are you
Right.
having difficulty with that? Are you in the process of doing it?
No, I just have to tweak it then because I thought I understood I needed the fonts. The only thing I felt was after I worked on it was the secondary dents. It needs to be on the screen longer so you can get that. So um, I guess I just got to work on trying to figure out how I'm gonna have Futura come in with primary. Um, so I'll just have to work on that.
Well, you have to do it in order. You have to do it in the order that you want people to read it and the way the sentence will eventually be. And you don't, and when I say have to, I mean because you are constrained with time and because you want the communication to be as clear as possible quickly, the best way to do that is to have fonts come up by itself. So we go, okay, this is fonts. And then you have the word primary, and where you had it before at the top was fine. Primary comes up at the top, and we read, oh, primary. Then have your Futura animation happening, and then it finishes, and we go, oh, the primary is Futura. Then you have secondary pop up, and then dense pops up.
I see that, but I don't think I will have the time according to my music the way I want it to like if you can play it again, Matt,
Sure.
like by the time Futura comes up, um fonts pops up to the side and then I just don't have enough time. Like secondary font will be
Okay,
completely way too fast.
let's work
Yeah.
through this. Okay, um, fonts, primary, Futura, secondary, dense. Well, you're only at 37 seconds. You've got plenty of time to
Oh,
work that
okay.
out.
You make it like 45.
Well, I don't think it has to even
Okay.
be as much as 45, but all you need is a couple more seconds, I think. Let's watch it again.
I'm trying to get to the exact point.
Yeah. Oh, it's doing something funny.
Yeah, it's
You
playing with
should be
it.
able to speed up the animation of Futura as well, like on its own, that
Yeah, I need
animation.
to work on that. I did the F a little bit faster. I don't know if you noticed that or not,
Yes, I
but
did.
um, yeah, I'll just speed up the rest of Futura.
Well,
That
and
should take
you
care of it.
don't want to have primary under Futura.
Okay.
And this is where that hierarchy if you put primary at the top and it's there for the entire time that the Futura animation is happening, it would make sense because of top-down reading. But then when you do secondary and then you do colon dense, you're not doing it in the same way that you did primary and Futura. So we have to it would be problematic. It's problematic the way it is because Futura is over primary and it says primary secondary and then it just says dense. So it's confusing the way that is. But if you put primary on top, then that's something we're used to reading. A top down like that. And we would get the idea that Futura you're having fun with. We would get that. But then, secondary and then having dense next to it is another way that we're used to reading, which is right to left. So that's okay. But too much deviation from that would be, as is evidenced here, becomes difficult for us to process. Does that make sense?
So are you saying that I need to animate secondary and
No,
dense as
no.
well?
I was afraid when I started mentioning it that that's how it would come across. What I'm really just saying is primary needs to be above Futura
Right, I'll take
because,
that back there.
yeah, because that's the way we read is top down. We read top down and we read left to right.
Hmm.
So if you've got something that's top down, then we're comfortable with that. And then if you've got something that's left to right afterward at the bottom, that'll make sense to us.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get.
I think that
Okay.
would have helped my confusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily confusion, but
Yeah.
I would have processed it faster, I think. Yeah, I think that would help a lot.
Right. And it's you know what? It's a great animation. And it's a wonderful way to show your fonts because this is how these fonts are going to move. So I don't want to lose. I don't want you to lose. I don't want to end up saying, just put a card up and just drop down your fonts. This is too much. This is very appropriate to your campaign. It's very much in keeping with the other things you've done. And I think you've done a nice job of. It has a retro feel, but it's enough. It's enough condensed and shows real design work, and it's contemporary enough as well because of that. So
Okay.
I would think that your main effort here has been to make it cohesive and to condense it and to make it a quick and clear communication. And aside from your font section, you're pretty much doing that now.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
Okay.
your colors, going back to your colors, Jessica mentioned that you didn't have the specs. And just like I just mentioned, everyone has to show your color specs.
Not a problem.
Okay? They don't have to
Did
be on the same, when you've got the colors that are popping up in the bubbles, the color specs don't have to be there. You can just add another page that's got, circles on it of the colors with the color specs on it for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, what I was thinking about that when we were going through Matthews of how to put them up there. If you if you could you push play, Matt?
Sure.
Um, you could, when it comes up captivating, like right there, the little circles.
Uh huh.
When it comes up like captivating, must have their one
Uh huh.
particular color on each of those. I thought about putting like this black color, what those, what it is. Um,
Go ahead and play it, Matthew,
and
so we can find that spot.
and like captivating must have, and the other one I can't even think of it right now, but um, putting the word, like right
Uh
there,
huh.
those three different colors,
Mm-hmm.
putting what CMYK and RGB values are in that.
Okay, but you'd have to do it. You'd have to move that section so that it's right behind the colors.
Okay. Okay.
Because
So
you
you do.
introduce colors, and so when you put the words up, and then you're going to use the CMYK and specs, you need to put that there so that we know that that's part of colors.
Okay. Well, I'll just put it on that color thing, on that color slide then, because to me it makes more sense there then, just to put it. I'm not gonna like. I mean, as a designer, like you said, it's up to you how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll just put it back when colors pop up, when they each pop up on their own time frame, I should say, I guess I could say.
Mm-hmm.
Just have the word there. Just have what they are there. Do you know what I
I'm
mean?
not. I don't. Are you? So are we talking about the same thing? Are you going to move the words up to the color section?
Yes.
Okay, I
Can you go
think.
back to the front, Matthew?
Yeah.
Um, when it says colors as
Right.
the introduction right there,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how black pops up on the screen,
Right.
I'll put
Very
what the
cool.
value is there. When
Yeah.
the other color starts to pop up, I'll put the value in there.
Okay.
And then like when yellow pops up, I'll put its value in there.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
I do, which is fine. That's another way to do it as well. Um, I think you might have to slow that animation down, give it some pauses so that that information will be legible. But again, I don't think that's a problem. You've got a full like 8 seconds to work with here to make a couple of these changes, and I think that's plenty.
The way like in the on WebStar, this particular video came in 30 seconds and a minute,
Hmm.
and I just didn't want to mess with trying to cut that down because I just know my skills aren't there just yet.
Hmm.
So I'll have to figure out how to do it all within this 30-second because I really am not comfortable with trying to change it when the due date is like tomorrow.
Well,
You know what I
all
mean?
all you need to do is adjust down your volume. What are you working in?
After Effects.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew, I'm correct here, right? All she needs to do is just fade out her volume to the end, right?
Yes. Um, if you don't know how to do that, I can show you real quick.
Well, no, like that. Um, let's see how I can explain it. Like the minute version of this is what I had initially,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and like certain things, like that big thing at the end where I like boosh and then it goes really quiet.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, that's only at the end. Like I would actually have
Okay.
to
Yeah. Well, so
cut
you're
that out, and
you're not comfortable editing the audio, is what you're saying.
not yet. No.
Okay. It's not terribly difficult. I mean, seeing what you've accomplished here, I have no problem thinking that you could edit a little bit of the audio to put the boom at the end. Um, are you comfortable working on that next week some?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I wouldn't. It's not a good move to say, well, I've only got the 30 seconds of audio, so I'm going to have to stick with that because that'll make that'll make what's going on here now is good, and I think you'll need those extra 8 seconds. So it's better to get that visual down, and then work on the audio next week to make that
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you've got good stuff here, Tanya, and I know that it can sometimes be very frustrating to go through so many iterations, and this is going to everybody, but um, it's about the work and it's about it being really excellent and tight, and that's what's going to that's what's going to get you guys the job eventually. So that's what I want for you. It's not about what I like; it's about what is going to be good out there in the world.
What do you think? I don't know if you noticed I changed the word colors here. They were lowercase and they were spread out more.
Mhm.
I made them uppercase and closer and larger.
Mhm.
Does that communicate anything better, or
You know, I,
did
I didn't notice it, but what I'll say about that is this feels so appropriate that I and that's the way design should be. It should be not distracting. I should look at this and be like, okay, it's fine, it fits, and it works just fine. So I mean, you've done
okay?
something good there if it's working like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that anybody else have any thoughts on that? Do they remember the way it was before, or
Yes, I do.
what are your
Um,
thoughts, Matthew?
well, I mean the spacing between the letters and the kerning it looks a lot better in this version with the capitalization. I think it gives more focus onto the actual word of colors, and then as the animation plays through, like such, it just seems to fit really well with the overall music and everything else. Um, I like it. It really drives it home.
Okay,
Good. Thanks.
good stuff. Anything else for Tanya?
Um, just as a, I mean, I know that After Effects can be very daunting to tackle. The only thing I would uh, seem that would help this little section would that when the colors actually play through, like the black and then the yellow and then the magenta, um, having the actual word change to that color or possibly an outline of that color around the word would actually give it a nice pop to give it a little bit more emphasis on the
Emphasis
colors.
on the color at that time, yeah.
Oh, I see what you
Well, and
mean.
could you play through that again? Because I want to get a sense of the timing because she's planning on putting in the color specs, and I think there's going to have to be some pause.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost gonna double the time, and that you're gonna need, you'll show the black and then the CMYK will come up. It can come up at the same time, but it needs to be up long enough for us to register that those are the color specs.
Mhm.
And if you can put hmm, that's gonna be tough with yellow. You're gonna end up with, however you can clearly communicate. If you put the specs in the actual color, that will help communicate that they are specs for that particular color.
That's
Mhm.
what
And
I
if
was thinking.
yeah, and if they stay in the same place, that means our eye doesn't have to go anywhere. So that's good. But your problem is you're going to have yellow probably on white.
Maybe a black outline could help with that.
Yeah.
But then, there's that issue that I think we talked about in one of the first go-to meetings is you don't want it's better to not work with yellow type if you put a black outline on it, then you need to put a black outline on the other ones.
Hmm. I see.
Um, and then when you've got the black one, what are you going to do? Are you going to put a yellow outline on it? Well, why not a pink outline? So
I have a possible suggestion.
what's that?
Towards the beginning, you have, and I know why you did this, you had a black screen and a white screen, and I know that it was a carry-on from your, the two-faced thing. There, there's a black screen and then a white screen.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, there's maybe you could do. I know why, like I said, I know why you did it because of the playoff, on black and white.
Change the background color.
Yep.
Bingo. And it's appropriate because you're doing it throughout. So you can change the background color, and that would then change the black bubbles or circles, but a lot of them are sort of grayscale, so they'll still probably show up. So if that's the look you want, okay. Or you could just switch it out for the white bubbles. And then when the white bubbles come up, you can switch to black again too. So you could have white background, white background, black background.
And that would also give
And
you
that's in
just a
keeping.
little bit more time.
Is that making sense, Tanya?
I think I see what you're talking about. As the black bubbles are coming up, maybe have
It's
a white background.
right.
Include the CMYK RGB values
In black.
in black. Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
And then
I don't think I'd have
and
to
then when the
change
yellow
anything
bubbles
though.
come up, change the background to
To
black,
black, right?
and then the letters could be in yellow.
Right.
And then when the pink comes up, you go back to white, the letters are in pink, and then when the white ones come up, you go back to black, and the letters are in white.
Yeah, that works. I don't think I'd have to change anything, would I? Other than that, I mean, as far as like Tom, I think it could still be what it is. Just change the background.
Yeah, I think the since the white bubbles are last, they're not problematic. The black bubbles are up for the whole time, so that could be problematic with the black backgrounds. But because they're sort of grayscaled, because you've got a lot of white in there, they'll
Uh-huh.
still show up. So it's just up to you as to whether you want to make them a little stand out a little bit more, or
Uh-huh.
yeah. But I think
I'll
they'll
play
work.
around with it.
Can you go ahead and show the
Thanks for
black
that.
bubbles real quick, Matthew? Right. Yeah, see, there's a lot of gray in there. So you're only going to lose the darkest black information. And I don't
I'll
think
play
that's
around with it.
terribly
Yeah.
problematic, do you?
Not at
No.
all. Yeah, I'll play around with it. It's not a problem.
Good,
Thanks,
good
Patty. That's
stuff.
good.
Good catch,
Yeah.
Patty. Good catch.
Thank
Um,
you.
shall we move up to Alicia?
Sure.
Okay. Patty, can you take this one?
Only because I said I didn't like pit bulls the other
Oh,
day.
no. Okay, you know
Okay.
what, Matthew, you do it, and then Patty, we'll have you work on Jessica's. How's that?
All right.
All right.
Okay. Okay, Matthew.
Wheel.
What's different from the previous versions or what we've already said?
What's different is that the images are smaller and they're not taking up the entire screen.
Mhm.
Also, what's different is the transitions. They repeat themselves throughout the entire piece, and we got the white font on the actual pictures, and
Making it difficult to read.
be difficult to read. Yes, and I'm just gonna play through it without sound, but with this first image right here, it has the
The
watermark
watermark.
on it.
Mhm.
Yep, that's kind of distracting. I think that the overall flow of transitions is complementary to the piece. I'm just like the, the fonts in the bottom of the corner of the screen here. I I would actually put more emphasis on that, on the actual titles. Let's see here. Play it through.
What about the color palette?
Color palette is, there's four major colors that are being used, and I see a few more that are different shades or different tones of the color palette. Or as like
Go to the section where the color palette is listed.
okay,
There you go.
there it is.
All
Oops,
right.
hold on.
What's missing?
The values,
Yep. Color specifications.
color specifications.
RGB and CMYK.
Mm-hmm.
What about
Um,
the is that problematic to anybody else? The does it is it okay that it's like four different sizes there? I mean, is that I guess that depends if that's what she's trying to design.
Right, Tanya, good point.
yeah.
It's if that's part of the campaign to have different size blocks and kind of give it on kind of quirky Mondrian sort of feel, um, that's fine. But where else do we see it in the campaign? Nowhere.
Nowhere. Yeah.
So, is it part of the campaign, or are they just squares that aren't the right size? And the fact that you question it um, is very important. The fact that you question it means that it's not communicating clearly. If it were part of the campaign, we would have seen other areas where there were different size squares laid out like that. It's part of that consistency in teaching the viewer how to read your information. Um, so Alicia needs to decide whether this is part of the campaign or not, and if it is, then we need to see more evidence of it throughout.
Mhm.
Um,
sorry.
Hmm.
The other thing I was questioning about, it looks like, what are those lines in the middle of the blocks?
Why are they there?
Yeah.
That negative space. I think we had mentioned before. There are several parts of this where she's not using the full screen. She's not really using the canvas. She suggests that she's using the whole canvas by putting color in the black part on the side.
And some of the pictures do stretch out to use the full canvas, but yeah, it's confusing to me, and I'm not entirely sure what you guys have said about this in previous go-to meetings, but I'm a little confused about this one. It
Mhm.
doesn't. I'm confused about the flow of it. Some of the way things are phrased in general, how the text is displayed. Um, yeah, just this things like that, and like you said, like not using the full canvas. It seems a little strange to go from full canvas to half of the You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, I'm confused about the flow of it, and I'm also a little confused about the overall feel of it because, you've got these really loving pictures with these pit bulls and the little deer, and then the person who is snuggling with the pit bull and that sort of thing. But then her main texture is this chain link fence, and
Fence.
I don't know if it's supposed to provide a contrast between the way that pit bulls are usually treated and the way they should be treated. I kind of get that, and especially because of the coloring of the chain link fence being sort of feminine in nature. But
Hmm.
I guess to me, that it's not clear to me if I'm supposed to interpret it as a contrast. You know what I'm saying? That it's not
Yeah.
the way I'm supposed to interpret it isn't clear to me, is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly, and that's basically what we have said in
Okay,
other parts. That there's not really a cohesive style, and if you're
right,
going to use that chain link, we need to see where it's going to be used a little bit better and how it would be
right,
used, and then
and
I think
why?
there is the one section where she's got the heart shape, and we had talked about the heart shape before as well. Um, she's got the heart shape with the image inside it, and then there's the chain link. But then there's another shot where she's got little pictures all around it.
Right,
And why are the pictures so small? Why are they on the chain link? Why aren't they in heart shapes? What
yeah,
there's not a consistency.
right,
And
I think
I'm not
they're
sure what the purple and red
repeats.
are up in the top. Yeah. And there are the images that we'll see later. But then we see
right,
the
exactly.
images later full screen without any going back to the same as Patty's. You're just showing images, but where's your design? How are you designing around that image? Where's your
Right,
you need to mask out these things, possibly put them on a white background with that chain link texture at the top, and just to
mm-hmm,
make it your own, if nothing else. Whether or not that communicates what you want or not, we don't know. But there needs to be a higher level of graphic communication, essentially, with this. And we had mentioned in previous go tos about fixing at the very least, I would have expected to see the texture to be more understandable, or the text to
mm-hmm,
be more legible.
right,
For instance, it says the texture down here on the bottom, half of it's falling into the black and half of it's falling across graphics that we can't. We can't determine what that says. We know it says the texture because that's what we deal with, but somebody else wouldn't be able to read it.
right,
Um, Villa Lobos and whatever it says at the top, I guess it says Steelhouse, is not very legible because it's red on a semi-complementary color, being the purple. So it starts to vibrate. It blends. It vibrates with the blue.
One of the things that's really hard is we are all at different levels in our development,
Yes.
and I really think that, for instance, like the color palette part that we keep talking about,
Hmm.
it took me hours and hours and hours to figure out how to put a ready-made color palette into a window on an iMovie.
Hmm.
And so I'm thinking, maybe some technical assistance would help her too.
Absolutely, but well, I shouldn't say but. Absolutely, the other side to that is, um, more explanation or reaching out or participating in go-to meetings and that sort of thing um, will also help. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of all of that. I don't know what she knows and what she doesn't know in any other way other than by what gets posted. And if we mention some things that need some fixing and then they're not addressed, they need to be addressed in some way. And if you don't know how to fix it, reach out and say, I see what you're saying, but I'm not sure what to do about it. Um,
Well, I just thought
yeah.
I'd mention that because I know I'm in some ways the same boat.
And you're doing a lot to move forward, and you are moving forward.
Well, and I think anytime you're learning new techniques and new software, for me, I don't know, and I may not always be 100% successful at this, but my first step is always to say, okay, I'm new at this, but go back to the basics and make sure that even if I'm not up to speed on After Effects, at least I need to make sure that my text is legible. At least I need to make
Right.
sure that the eye knows where to go, and then you develop your skills as you go. So I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is I'm saying like starting with the basics. I don't really understand with all this text in here, some of it's difficult for me to read in the sense that it's being displayed in such a way where it's going into the black and then onto the chain length and then onto the photo, but also in the sense that as it goes from slide to slide to slide, I don't I don't remember how the phrasing went, and it doesn't seem to go together. It doesn't. I don't
Right.
understand what's being said exactly, and then it ends with a question mark, and I didn't know that there was a question. You know what I mean? It's just basic stuff like that where I'm like, okay, just go back to the essentials and say, do the fundamental parts of this video make sense, and are they legible?
Right. And so it's then there's not a lot here that can't be fixed with some more time. Some basic things that can't be fixed. And I saw two different fonts in there a moment ago. Loyal came up, and it was a font that wasn't the same font as some of the other things in here. So just change that font. But yeah, there needs to be a higher level of graphic communication, meaning that there it is, loyal. We need to have, and we said it before when it was important to go tos or three go tos ago, that we got to get some consistency in here. Everything she's working with is fine in terms of the types of images, and she uses a heart shape and this kind of thing. But we need to see it be cohesive. We need to see it used. The images need to be the same size. Either fill the screen or don't. Come up with a graphic answer for that solution, a design solution for that problem. That sort of all those sorts of things. Same things Jessica was mentioning. Um, so Alicia, going forward, if you've got some very specific questions, please contact me. Reach out to your other classmates to see if there's something that you want them to expound upon. Um, and you've got all the right elements. We need to get some communication skills going where they're communicating a little bit better. Okay? Shall we go up to Jessica? And Patty, you're going to take point on this one?
Okay. How cool is that?
Why is
I
it
a
cool,
thousand
Patty?
times. Well, she has taken all of the comments that we made and has turned it into a workable much better presentation. Uh, the scrapbook idea she took a lot farther,
Hmm.
and then the moving in and moving out of the pictures and the text and the now right there she should have left it on the page, I think, and it could have been a little smaller. And then her fonts, they looked really well. They looked very good. And even it came up to be a very complete ending, and I liked the rippling effect. And the
Why the
music seemed to
rippling
work
effect, Patton?
because it's, you know how you cast a rock in a river and the ripples come
Yeah.
out? It's kind of symbolism of, we're here, you make your future what you want it to be, kind of thing.
Well, I took it a different way, and I mean, thinking visually, when you see a movie or television show, when you're looking at video, and that ripple effect starts to happen, what is that dealing with?
Oh, I think possibly you're thinking of it coming into focus
Well, what
rather
word?
than
There's a
going
particular
out.
word that she uses in that last part where she uses that ripple effect.
Memories.
Memories.
Memories. So what when you're watching video, when you see a movie and things start to ripple like that, what's generally happening?
Transition.
It's
You're
a transition to it's a flashback, it's a memory, it's a let me think now. How did that happen? And then people start to sort of ripple, and it's indicative of memory, and it's a motion that we have visually come to associate with memory or flashback. And she doesn't use it throughout because it wouldn't be appropriate throughout. But when she says your memories are awaiting, it makes it a little bit more ethereal. It puts it in your brain as having something to do with flashback or thought. It's like you're coming clear. All of that memory, we were just watching something that was in flashback, and now we're in the present again. It brings a moment of clarity to that statement that wouldn't be there without that
yes.
ripple effect. If it just popped up, that'd be okay, and it would mean, oh, we can have memories. But that little ripple effect takes it to a different level. I'm not saying it's a grand, huge level like a big sledgehammer over everybody's head, but it just takes it to a different level, and it has a different meaning, and it shows a creative connection. Whether Jessica, whether you stumbled on it or not, um, it shows that as a designer, she understands that connection, that visual understanding that we have. Visual lexicon is the word I'm looking for the word memory, and then for the waviness. Now, Jessica, is it an accent or did you do that on purpose?
No, that's what I was going for something along those lines, and just also playing with some of the transitions and stuff, um and I like I appreciate that you said that about the other transitions, because I was wondering if I wanted to use it with the images as well, and towards the beginning there when it says find your path and all that sort of thing,
Mhm.
um because I don't want to use too many different transition effects,
Well, and I think it would be
but I'm not sure if
overkill.
those ones work for me. Yeah, right. I don't want it to be overkill, but I'm not sure that these ones work for me here. Here in a second. Yeah, I'm not sure if those work or if they're too jarring. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah, I actually have a little bit of lag. So, Matthew, can you comment on that?
Um, I would say that the overall up opacity that you're using for opacity setting, um, that's that's a great feel to it. I would almost think like since this is a scrapbook, actually having the images kind of like drop in as like someone's actually putting the picture into the actual book might give it a different feel. I'm not sure if you guys like. that makes enough sense. But
It makes
Yeah, the
sense.
thing
It's
is,
a
because I was
yeah.
trying to go with a revealing thing though. I mean,
Okay.
and I don't know if that doesn't come across, like having them. The idea is that they're sort of coming up. I don't know. I guess my concept is sort of that you're looking at this scrapbook and it's being populated by memories you've already had
Right.
in the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
yes, it
it
does.
it
Yeah,
it
Hmm.
does, and I think that your reveal is a way of addressing that sort of metaphysical side in the same way that the ripple does, but without the overusing the ripple. And the ripple
Right.
tends to mean transition in thought or time, whereas this slower one is not quite as jarring. It doesn't mean it's a flashback. We're still kind of in the same place, and the memories are kind of coming up in a metaphysical sort of way, but it doesn't mean major jump in time.
Right.
By using the ripple, you're coming back to the present, or you're more grounded in reality.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think Matthew's suggestion is a good one. And Matthew, it shows that you're thinking about how a scrapbook would be populated. How would you animate a scrapbook? Well, you might see you saw the hand turning the page. Maybe you see the hand push the thing into place. You know,
you know, or in between, as your images drop here, you have a page specifically for the pictures, and then what you can do is go back to your live footage and actually turn the page, and then have that color palette appear and such. And then as you turn the page again, you have your
right?
section for the typography and everything else. Just an idea.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're all possibilities. And I think this really fits well with what Patty was just saying. Everybody's at a different level. And so for Jessica to take on the idea of having the hand put the picture in that particular position, that would mean she'd have to animate a hand and animate a picture that was not actually connected to a physical hand, and that I'm sure that's all would seem like too much to handle. Um, and because everybody's at a different level, and I don't know, Jessica, what your level really is, but my thought would be that that's more than you can do in the next, say, 24 hours.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Right.
that's not quite where I'm at. Maybe in a week or so.
Right. Well, right. But the thing is, it shows the thinking, and that's really great, Matthew, is being able to show that connection between how a scrapbook would actually look and move. Um, that's kind of what we need. So, um, Patty, did you have anything else to add, or I think you pretty much went through your thoughts on it?
Uh, yeah, I pretty much gave you, what I thought about it.
Hmm.
I like
Tanya?
it a lot.
Yes,
Yeah, I
very.
think it's a vast improvement from what Jessica had first posted. I almost thought like I don't know if it would be overkill because I do like that cursive handwriting, um, feel, especially when it comes to a scrapbook. Like I was wondering, like even in the beginning when those words when the images are coming on to the scrapbook,
Hmm.
um, I even thought maybe she could use that same handwritten uh type, there, when not right here, but like right there, as the images are starting to like reveal your path, cursive, homey, um, comforting handwriting because it is in a scrapbook. But I mean, either way, it works well.
Yeah, I think at this point I'm worried about the time constraints because that animation of the handwriting is pretty time consuming. But it's a good idea. I like what you're saying because I'm not entirely sold on the transition that I am currently using for those, find your path, explore your future, those taglines that come up. I think something more could be done there, but I'm not entirely sure what. So I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Um, you could give yourself a little bit more time at the beginning. Um, I mean, we're a full 10 seconds before we ever really see the name of the campaign, even. And I think,
Hmm.
you could show, you've kind of got an almost stop motion feel to it. You could take out more frames and just show the hand open the book and kind of get into it quicker.
Right, but see, I'm timing it with the music. There's that cool like
Yeah.
beat that happens right there when the Castleton name is revealed. So I know it's weird for it to be 9 seconds in, but yeah, I'm really fond of that particular effect to have the Castleton come
Mm,
on right when that downbeat happens.
I got you.
Do you
Yep.
know what I'm talking about? So
Yep.
I was wondering
Uh,
what else I could sort of do to fill that 9 seconds so that it doesn't seem like we're waiting for that downbeat. You know what I mean? But like I think it's important that that downbeat matches up with the reveal of the college name. Does that make
well,
sense?
it makes sense. That's fine. But I think you also said, what can you add there so that you're not
Right.
waiting all that time? Um, and that's the question. You're the designer, and you need to come up with something in there to kind of fill that time. That's still part of the campaign. That isn't,
Right.
revealing the campaign necessarily. But is still, showing parts of the campaign. I mean,
Yeah.
you open on a blank page for kind of a while, and or maybe that reveal moment, maybe that musical cue doesn't have to be the title. Maybe, um, maybe it's the tagline.
Right.
Maybe it's the first reveal of one of the pictures or something.
Yeah.
Or if you start the music at a different point in the beginning.
That too. Ready,
Yeah,
edit
I'm
your
wondering if I
music.
could trim down the intro a little bit.
Yeah.
Because and then if I do give myself some extra time, I'm wondering where to use that extra time. Like, should I give a little more time to the color palette? Does that go by too quickly? Should I have the pictures fade in and fade out a little more slowly? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I kind of, I personally think that what Matthew said was nice about having some pages turn. So you
okay,
could add a couple of seconds by actually showing pages turning instead of, and it's not wrong that things do fade in and out on the same page, but it doesn't always have to. You could
right,
do some things for a couple of pages, then turn the page, and then have some other things happen.
okay.
You know,
Yeah, and I
you
don't, I
yeah,
think, like you said, like I think animating a hand, placing each and every picture would get maybe a little bit much, but I think if I added, one animation of a hand changing or turning the page,
right.
it wouldn't be too time consuming. I think
Well,
that's
and
probably
you
kind of
mentioned before. Can you go back to the section where she starts having her pictures, and then she's got the different little lines, the different. Okay, stop on the next one. Stop, back up. If that's in real time, that's going kind of fast. I think you when you have the words up, when you have the text showing, it sort of immediately goes into fading out. And it's difficult to
right,
read those. And we're human, and we want to look at a picture instead of read.
right.
So if you were to put the words on one side and then have the image on the other, and then the words are there the entire time,
Oh, okay.
then we see the word, and it goes back to kind of what we are doing with Tanya. You read the words, and then we see the picture, and then the picture is in, and then other words come in, and so our eyes just follow what's happening, and there's enough time to do it all, and then a page turns, and then something else, some other words come up,
Yeah,
and
that
then the
makes sense.
page turns.
Okay.
Um,
Do
yeah,
you think that putting a subheading under there, like, um, what was it? What were the words before the picture with the beautiful trees?
Oh, is it
What
find
were,
your path or reveal your path? Yeah.
okay, reveal your path. And then he was talking about, putting that off to the side. Would it be, I don't know, can you put down, this was our day at the lake or something?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'd considered doing that so that there were, like little, not subtitles, I guess, but yeah, little like captions.
captions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like activities.
hmm Another possibility. I think that might there's two issues with that. Not that it's not to be explored, but there are two issues with that. One being, the amount of time that it would take to have to use that, and then just the visual space it would take to have to do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, but if it communicates clearly, if the essence of the campaign is not being felt without them, then Jessica would want to, see how that's working for her,
Yeah.
see what she can do with it.
It's beautiful work. I
Oh,
like
thank
it.
you. Well, I
The
appreciate everyone's comments in the other go-to meetings. It really helped me to take a it's nice to have constructive criticism that's, just useful, and you guys were spot on, and it was nice to take a step back and be like, whoa, 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 they're absolutely right. I need to start over and
right.
reimagine this whole thing.
Well, there's
So
there's
I appreciate
one
you guys'
big
help.
thing that is better about this than what had been going on before. Um, I guess in the interest of time, I'll just mention it, but it's cohesive, and it very quickly and clearly conveys the essence of the campaign. There's definitely a theme here, and it's about memories, and you're stylistically using a scrapbook to communicate that. So where you were putting images before on something that looked like a stone background or something, it was just out of context. There was no real feel to what this campaign was, or what sorts of decisions you would make going forward. Now that we
Hmm.
see the scrapbook, now that we see the textures and the colors, and there's a cohesive sort of storyline to it,
Hmm.
we get it. We can see what your vision is for this campaign. We can make generalized assumptions about some of the choices you might make if you were faced with a billboard or a web banner or a car wrap. We can think of some things that you might do because you've clearly stated what your mission is with the campaign,
Great. Yeah.
and that's
Perfect.
Um,
that's the big difference.
I know
uh,
for me, the last one, the last thing you had posted, like I said, I think it's a million times better because the first thing that I saw was kind of boring, and now this really like holds my interest, and I actually want to see what's going to happen next. So I
Right.
think you did a million times improvement.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you found a theme to focus on, you found a purpose to focus on, and now it all makes sense,
Right.
right?
Well, and I think I had the idea in my head all along, but I just wasn't executing it correctly. And I think I
Right.
wasn't thinking in three dimensions. You know what I mean? I wasn't thinking of
Okay.
I was being very two-dimensional about it. But yeah, so I appreciate you guys bringing me to my senses.
Excellent.
yes.
Can we go ahead and move forward or move
We do.
up,
And I have to
please?
excuse myself because I have a freaking out baby in the next room. So I appreciate
Okay.
everyone's help, and I'm sorry I can't stick around longer.
Okay.
All right, we
Yes.
will talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Um, I apologize too, sir. I have to actually excuse myself and go to work. So I
Okay.
appreciate everybody's feedback and comments, and I look forward to presenting the final project. Great work, everyone.
All right. Tanya, are you available to take over presenter?
Sure. Just tell me what I need to do.
Well, it should pop up and you should accept it, I think.
Bo,
There we go. And
do you see
then
it?
I don't have it, so we need to have the
Show my
discussion board
screen?
opened.
I'm really not good at this, so
All
excuse
right.
me. Um, because I don't see anything but my desktop.
Right.
Go down to
So
your little application thingy.
Bo,
you
I'm
just need
sorry,
to
Patricia, do
open you
what?
just need to open the discussion board, like however you would do that.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Do you see my screen at all?
I do, yes.
Ugh, sorry, guys.
You're
It's
good.
all right.
Okay. Where are we at? Who's next?
The dog treats.
Above Jessica
Yep.
is Emily's.
Emily
There you
Henderson.
go.
Yep. Was there a color palette with specs?
No, I didn't see one.
Right.
No, it was like it's like they're right there where you pass the blue dot right there. Was well,
Well,
I
we.
thought there was something.
Well, I mean, she
There wasn't
uses, a blue and white color palette essentially, but the campaign needs to include a little more. I think again there are a lot of images, but they're just somebody else's images, and there needs to be a stronger sense of how those images mix with the campaign. And so she's got some some text at the bottom down there that uses blue and white. We probably need to see a little bit more of that. And then there's the dog paw. Maybe the dog paw needs to move across some of the images a little bit to bring that element together.
Does that blue, most of the blue, like this blue right here, she's using throughout the piece. I wonder if that also should be the blue that's in the beginning of, like that lighter blue right there.
Yeah. Well, and this is where we need to see the color specs. We need to have a color palette section which tells us the CMYK and RGB, and then these colors would then be consistent. She would always use the same blue or blues because I see she's got tones and whatnot going on here.
Well, that's true. That dark blue is in the words.
Right. So it looks like she's got maybe three colors of blue going on here that she's using that are they need to be specified. What those color specifications are. And the word tasty and the word treats, these things at the bottom are nice, but they're a little small and they're not really showing the campaign very well. And if could you scroll back a little bit to where that B is in the top left corner of that image?
That Bodine type, I think.
Where is it?
There.
Oops.
Right there. Boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it says something.
Okay. Like this is a highly stylized letter, and it's architectural looking, and it shows the design of that letter. But is that letter part of the campaign? Is that look part of the campaign?
No.
No.
I don't think it is. And so, it's appropriate in that it's like, oh, a typographer, but all of these words get lost, so we're not really reading that. So we don't, if this is the typography page, it's not showing us what the type, it's not giving us the name of the type, and we're not seeing exactly how it would be used. So I'm a
I
little
think I
confused as to what it
saw,
is.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Patty.
I saw the name of it.
Well, it has Bodoni at the very top, but it's not well composed so that we can really see. And
I see having a
yeah,
lot of fun with the dog biscuit shape, whether it be,
yep,
um, or paw prints, you know, I see she could have a lot of fun with that,
Yeah, we
presenting
just need to see a
material.
little bit more combination, and we need her to put her print. We need her to say, "Hey, look, I'm a designer. I'm doing a campaign, and this is what it would look like. These are some of the things that you would see. This is how if you get me, you get this, as opposed to relatively basic imagery, of dogs and people being happy, with very little branding. Just putting a little word at the bottom and in white and in a basic font. While the font is appropriate, it just we need to kind of get a sense of how the designer would make it their own. I mean, it's something we've mentioned before in some of the others. So we just need to have a little bit more of bringing the campaign into the images. Kind of making it all tie together just a little bit more with a better sense. Because basically, what we're doing is Emily, you have this great blue and white that we understand as part of your campaign, and it's got lovely amounts of negative space, and you're saying this is my campaign, but then you shoot to a picture that's doesn't have this branding anywhere on it, and then we kind of come back to some blue and white, and we just need to see more of that connection of the images and possibly some graphics. I think you're absolutely right, Patty. She needs to include, she's got the graphic of the paw. A graphic of a dog biscuit would probably not be a bad idea. Maybe even a graphic of a dog itself. Maybe come up with a
Yeah.
little character type dog or shape that she uses, or a series of them. But a little bit more graphic work in there would really help bring it all together nicely.
Aw.
It's definitely more cohesive than it was before. It's definitely got um, a better feel. It's in a more complete way, but I think it just needs a few more tweaks to, just the decision to really make this feel like it's a complete campaign and present it well. Tanya, Patty, anything?
Not
I would just agree what you said because like you said right now it's just a lot of pictures and I don't see Emily in this. I just see like it could be anybody in this.
Right. Um, okay. Um, really good work. So going forward, we've got the dynamic mood boards are due tomorrow night, and go ahead and oh, you know what? We did have wills to go over, didn't we?
Mhm.
Let's go
Did
over
we go
wills.
over
Sorry.
Cody's?
I think it's Cody and Will that's left.
Did Cody post a
Yeah.
new one? Okay, right. I'm sorry.
N-
Let's go. Let's look at Will's then. And this is the first we've seen from him anyway, isn't it?
mhm.
In terms of a motion piece. Okay. We need color specs
Oh,
there. Those might need to be up a little longer so we can read them. Those fonts. Okay, it's not bad in terms of feeling like a campaign. The biggest issue is, and it goes back to what we're saying with everybody else, is you show an image, and if you just show an image by itself without saying this is a section of appropriate images, then it's disconnected. We need to see that picture branded in some way. We need to see colored text across it. We need to see some kind of motion other than a slow fade, or rather a slow zoom.
that
You've
part
got that
right
great
there.
effect right there. Look, that's a cool effect, right?
Mhm.
Let's
I
see that
think it
effect a couple more times.
I think it's too fast. I couldn't actually read
Yeah, it is too fast.
what was
We can't
there.
read what the text is there. And then we also need color specs on the colors. But, put that effect, put the word cool over here on this thing, have it be a motion graph, have it actually move across, or put the effect on it, and have the effect make the transition. But just to have images that aren't branded, or identified as being appropriate imagery is difficult. So, Will, I think you've got a lot of very appropriate work. We just need to find you need to find a way to make it feel more cohesive. Patty, Tanya, thoughts?
I
Yeah,
agree.
yes, I was reading his little thing under there and he was talking about, oh, hey, yeah, I just saw something.
Uh-huh.
Back up a little bit. There, the orange and the blue, I think that really shows off the car.
Hmm.
And if he could play on that color palette on that orange and blue, there.
Hmm. Well, that's a good example of this color is playing a big part here, but orange is not part of his color palette.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, this would not really be in terms of if you were creating this campaign, you wouldn't have that orange wall in there likely without more blue. If you were to put a word down there in the aqua color that he's got, maybe some graphic, then it would help out and it would bring it in. He might need to add the orange if he wants to use the orange more. He might need to tone down the orange in this image. That's
I
kind of what
think,
I'm saying about you show an image and then it doesn't seem to have a connection with the campaign. So we need to somehow connect these things.
I think the orange would help in the words he his descriptive words like
Hmm.
fun, and that orange would definitely, because like again, like you said, in his color palette, it's not there, but
Right.
I
Well,
think it
and
would
you
add
can, you
some
can
fun
add it
to
to
it
your
for
color
sure.
palette as a secondary color. Doesn't have to be in everything, but in those moments when you need a pop, like you're saying, you could add a an orange outline to the blue, and it would really vibrate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Or
agree.
orange, shipped between aqua and orange or something. But Patty, you were going to say something about the frustrating hours.
Yeah, underneath there he was talking about uh he had some very frustrating hours. He lost his sound and
Hmm.
he's just having a tough time. So once again, I think needs to say, "Help, I need
Hmm.
help."
Yeah. Yeah, we all have frustrating hours and tough times.
And it's time to take a break and
It's the
then come
nature.
back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Cody, what's different?
Um, the words, the way he has them coming in and out, are different. Or that
Yeah.
transition where the word is folding. But I think everything else to me is similar.
There's some minor changes, but some of the bigger issues from the 2 week period haven't really been addressed.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Like that screen, is there still a split screen there, or that
yeah,
white is showing?
and we don't know if that's consistent because we don't see it anywhere else. It looks like maybe doing the twisting motion on the front, that might be different. But having the two different colors, having these images displayed in the positioning that they are, but not consistently throughout, doesn't quite make sense to us. Again, why is this gal just dropping in from nowhere and covering up the words? So Cody, you need to do what Jessica did, and come up with a real sort of theme and sense of how you're going to make this look that makes some sense that you can convey through your imagery and your graphics. It should be it should be clearer at this particular point in the. I mean, it's due tomorrow night, so you're going to have. What I see here is that you're going to have some difficulty making enough changes based on how long it's taken you to make the minor changes you seem to have made here. Um, Patty, Tanya, do you have any comments for him?
I think instead of him being more realistic, that graphics here would help
Good
to
point.
display energy and that kind of thing.
The pictures are, you're right, the pictures are sort of the big thing causing the problem. They're not moving in a way we would expect. They're sort of cutting off things. They're cutting off words. They're coming in at different sizes, so they're creating an odd space. And what is strong about this are his motion graphics, his words. I mean, there still needs to be some consistency of how they're presented and what sort of movements they have. But that's a very good point, Patty, that graphics would help this and less imagery. Patty,
Hmm.
um, do you have any more to say on that? Do you have any more ideas then?
Well, a definite, I think we've already talked about him, his color palette. He could make them like energy waves or something.
Yeah.
Um,
So we don't see the color palette with the specifications and we don't see the names of the fonts. So some of the
no,
requirements of what this needs to be are missing.
it's too, I don't know what the word is. It's just not connected.
Right. You use that fuel cell energy that kind of twists in a helix sort of pattern, and then we never see it again. And the next movement is power four comes sliding across, and when we're waiting to find the word, then it finally comes up and says today, and it's almost gone. And it just says power four for too long, and then it pushes the other thing off and they kind of overlap at one point and it's symbolically power 4 is taking over fuel cell energy, which I don't think is really what you want to do.
That thing there that you're talking about and all the different colors, I
Uh-huh.
just had a thought. That would be cool to kind of tie things together if you had like lines coming through and then things running on the lines.
Yeah.
See, I
And
think
I think
I
go ahead, Tanya.
agree. Like I can see what she's saying, especially see that image right there,
Mm-hmm.
with all that motion and color, and
Mm-hmm.
I think if you put that somewhere throughout the rest of the piece, it would get more. Yeah, I would feel more that this is about an energy project,
Yeah.
versus you telling me about it that it's just energy, um, or fuel
Mm-hmm.
cell. I don't get that so much. Only from what he's telling me. If he could put more images of that and some, I don't know, more vibrancy, some more life to it.
Yeah.
Um,
And the image of the gal doing yoga isn't doing anything to convey
no.
a power company. I mean,
Although
she's
to
out in
me,
nature where there is no power. I mean, it might be clean. It seems like it's a healthy lifestyle, so there's some kind of connection there. But if she were in a kitchen full of appliances and it was a very clean kitchen and she looked happy or something, then it might be different. But um,
Well, he's talking about clean energy for tomorrow, and the idea he's
mhm.
trying to get across is there's a baby there and they're going to be
right,
around tomorrow.
Okay.
right.
It took me several views before I knew she was pregnant. All I saw was woman doing yoga outside.
I
Oh,
saw she was pregnant. Yeah,
oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So, but again, is the communication, if the communication is that she's pregnant and then you're using the word tomorrow, meaning for another future or for a future generation, then again, Is she going to have her baby in the field and the kid's going to live outdoor? Or, I mean, show some kids, or show some babies possibly in an environment where they're using clean energy or where there's a windmill in the background or something.
Yeah,
Is
it's a
my
good
point.
idea.
I was in another class where another guy tried to do this power thing, and he just had to give up all the realistic stuff
Hmm.
because it's just too dang hard trying to do that.
Well, it can be. It depends on what your resources are. Yeah, and Tanya mentioned, and you both mentioned. I think we even mentioned a couple of go-tos ago that the energy waves and with the colors, that was a nice element that we need to
Yeah.
sort of see more of. And I think that that speaks to energy. And I think, Patty, you mentioned being more graphic. And then overall, we've also mentioned tying it all together better, not using too many disparate motions or, try to be more consistent.
Yeah,
Give
because
it
you
more of a
notice
connectedness.
this last bit here is at 23 seconds, and it's just 7 seconds of just that picture.
Yeah.
Like I think he could definitely um, do more. That picture is pretty much 10 seconds
Mhm.
long.
And it's due tomorrow.
I think that's everybody.
I'm
Oh,
too.
Fabian, we didn't do Fabian.
Did he post a new one?
No, he didn't.
It's the same one that we spoke about last time, I think.
I think it's
Yep,
It's the same one. Okay. And we said
I
that
was
this
gonna.
feels a little bit better. There's still a disconnect between who are these people and how do they fit in with it. That whole
that's the
style,
same one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, good Saturday meetup here, I think.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Yes,
I'll
I
put
do.
those into put your suggestions out there. Thanks, Patty.
Excellent.
Well, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. And Mr. Argo, are you available to talk to me for a few minutes?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So Patty, you want to hang on here then, and we'll just do it through
Yeah,
here. Okay.
sure.
I will stop recording.